All right, if it's Tuesday, it means only one thing. It means it's time for us to talk about the craft and business of making comics. My name is Buddy Scalera, and I am the founder of Comic Book School, where you learn all about how to make better comics. I'm also a professional comic book writer, and I am joined by my good friend, Emmy Award-winning Mike Fasolo. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me.
So, Mike, we got by popular demand the return of Sean Chen. People loved his last appearance. We loved his last appearance. And yeah, so we decided we're going to have him come back. Last time we had him on, he drew heads. Tonight he'll draw tails. Please welcome Sean Chen to the worst joke going. There you go.
Thanks for having me again, guys. Thanks a lot.
So, Sean, look at that. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Redheaded Ed.
So, Sean, we're excited to have you. We're not kidding. People absolutely love the lessons that you give. And just as a quick reminder, Mike, Sean has been to probably as many live comic book school events as I've been to. Sean has traveled the planet.
Well, mostly to New York Comic Con, so it's
but also to Morocco. We traveled the planet, so we really did.
That counts as traveling the planet.
We did that, but Mike, tonight's going to be a really special night because we're gonna complete the. This was supposed to be the Movember to remember, and my daughter will join us. So people that stick around, Mike, they'll be.
I might have to leave early because I'm very upset by this. Yeah,
well, you know what? Even Sean said he thought it was a decent look.
Yeah, you should tell Mrs. Scalera that you want to keep it.
Yeah. Why don't you come over? Why don't you come over and pitch that idea? So we're gonna not do that. How do I pull this up, Mike? Where is my gosh darn?
Hey, we got a new viewer, Sword.
Oh, introduce me to Sword, Mike.
Sword says, "Happy New Year, fellas! Fan of the channel, loving it." Well, thank you, Sword.
Thank you, Sword.
Thanks, Sword.
We're loving that you're here.
And Glenn says, "Buddy, should totally shave your right eyebrow. Leave the beard." Exactly.
I don't know. That would be an awkward look, wouldn't it?
Well, it'd be better than getting rid of the beard.
What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. So tonight, guys, we're going to be talking about how to draw expressions. So if you want to be a better comic book artist, you can do no better than to follow along with this episode. And Sean will give you the background. But first, a little bit about Mike Fasolo. He is a 3-time Emmy Award-winning television writer, 2-time Annie Award-winning television writer, staffer on the Robot Chicken television show, among many other things. Also a comic book writer. Knows a lot of things. Thanks for being my co-host on this, Mike.
Thanks for having me, bud.
Yeah, thanks for being had, Mike. And as I mentioned, I am also a comic book writer, well known for my work in the comic books, both in Marvel Comics creator owned, and if you look there on the far left, I create educational resources, which is what we do here at Comic Book School. But if you like what you're about to see here, Sean has the How to Draw Expressions. You may want to also check out his October 8th, 2024 episode where he talks about how to draw heads, which is pretty amazing. And the detail and the knowledge that goes into that is invaluable, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I was very impressed and wished I could draw so I could follow along.
Yeah, it made me realize that I should not bother trying to draw. It was one of those episodes where I'm like, it's a good thing I didn't try to go into the drawing business because Sean is so good at it. All right, Sean, you're well known for many, many runs, Iron Man, Wolverine, Bloodshot. They just have to Google you and we'll find a million things about you. But Sean, you're also now a comic book writer, self-publishing your first book, Evermind. Real quick, why don't you just tell us about Evermind and we'll tell people where to go find it.
Okay, well, I mean, after I left Marvel and DC, the typical thing is when you graduate from that, you kind of do your create your own book. So this is a create your own thing of mine. It's called Evermind, and it's about this Asian scientist guy who is a highly flawed character and gets into all sorts of shenanigans. So it's got some big ideas. It's got some pretty cool art, I think so. And then also the stories by me, and I think you should all check it out. You can go to 247comics.com and you can read the first issue and decide for yourself. If you don't like it, then move on to something else. But I think you should definitely give it a try.
Well, Sean, I have to tell you, I bought it and read it, and I loved it. You underestimated your own writing ability. Mike, you did a great job.
Of course he did. Sean Chen.
Yeah. If there's one thing that we know about Sean Chen is that, like Sean, whatever he throws himself into, he goes 100%. So, Evermind, really, yes, great job.
Great job. Great job.
Thanks, Sword.
Thanks, Sword. Glad to know you, Sword. All right, Sean, we are here tonight to talk about facial expressions and how to draw them effectively. And you've given us a large list of images. We should just disclaim that these images may be copyrighted, may not be. We don't know. But the key thing is we're using them here strictly for educational purposes. So, Sean, go ahead and give us some insight into what we are looking at here.
Okay, so I mean, last time I drew like the face with like a neutral expression. So it's very important that you never draw that in a comic, because it's you really have to, as the artist, you kind of are the actor. So we just had the Golden Globes, and we celebrate great acting, and it's a big part of the entertainment and the immersion of a comic book. So I decided to start off with this. This fella here was a adult male, and he's smiling. So it's just basically getting to know like what happens when these expressions happen. So a lot of times you should always get yourself a mirror and then make the expression that you want to draw. It's good for a lot of people. For me, it less so, because my face is not like a lot of faces that I draw. But at least you can feel like what muscles are moving and get a general sense of what's going on underneath the skin. So in this guy, if he's smiling, you can kind of see, obviously, the edges of his mouth go upward. And then there are, that bicycle pump there just shows like there's the cheek area that's the squash and stretch zone. There are parts of your head that doesn't move or anything. I mean, doesn't really change shape. Like your jaw is a hard, bony thing, and so is your forehead. The ears all stay put, but then the area underneath the eye and between the eyes and the mouth, that part either stretches or squashes, and when you smile, it blows up like a balloon. And then because it has to take up the slack of the edges of the mouth going up.
Mike, so, I've had a face my whole life, and I never thought of any of this.
Never thought of any of this.
None of it.
I'm gonna see after this. I'm gonna go into the mirror and start trying out these things and see how my face squishes and stuff.
And like he just says it's like, oh, this part moves, this part blows up like a pump, and for artists, this is amazingly useful information. What's happening here, Sean? It looks like the same bicycle pump, but different angle.
Right. So this is a female face, and the same thing happens. The edge of the mouth goes up when they're smiling, and then it scrunches up that cheek underneath the eye that pumps up, and then in this one, the eyebrows go up. So these things, like I think with human beings, as opposed to other animals, we have these clues that kind of communicate. Before we had language, it communicated a lot about what we're thinking. So like the fact that our teeth are like very white and contrasty with the dark open hole that's underneath it. And then the eyes have like the white areas. So, when you're the whites of your eyes, or how much teeth you see, or in what shape those teeth are, those micro proportions send a lot of signals to us when we're meeting each other for the first time, to know whether that we're going to have to, throw down, or we're going to have dinner together. So we communicate a lot through our faces. And originally these things started out as, the eyes open wide and the mouth opens wide. Every time the mouth opens, in the beginning, it was all about getting more oxygen, because something's going to happen. You need it to react, and your body needs oxygen to feed the muscles. But then eventually it just became like symbols, so we can read what these mean. And there's like a universal language amongst people, and we just know what these expressions mean.
And what you pointed out that the eyebrows on the woman went up. What is that? What's happening there? What is the meaning of that? Do you suppose when what is there a message that is being communicated?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think most of the emotions are conveyed when it comes to the face in that T zone, the eyes, nose, and mouth. And eyebrows, like, I'm not sure exactly what their specific function is, but they seem to communicate a lot because what your eyes are doing, the skin above your eyes and below your hairline, it scrunches up and down. And so depending on your mood, like when you're angry, it tends to knot up, and when you're happy, it tends to open up. So those things kind of tell a lot about what's going on. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to describe, but you kind of always know when you see it, you know what it means. So as an artist, you got to try to figure it out so you can duplicate it when you do your artwork.
Mike, I don't know if you forget that you're live on the show with us, but I see you making your own expressions.
I'm trying to do the scrunchy stuff.
All right. Last but not least, Sean, a couple times I've noticed that there is expressions, but then there's also body cues in a lot of these. You know, we exist with hands and shoulders and necks. Is there anything that's part of the expression, even the tilt or the bend or whatever of the body positioning that artists need to take into account when they're drawing?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that the expression really starts with the body. So it's almost like the last part of it. Probably the most information you get is from the facial expression, but really it goes hand in hand with a lot of body stuff. So like for this, you can see her head is high above her shoulders. Like she's trying to get a better look at, and she's like eager to see what's going on. And then when someone's angry, you can kind of see their head go down kind of below the shoulder line. And that's because they're kind of in that kind of evasive action, ready to rumble, get a better balance stance going, so you can fight. So
the expressions is the culmination then, right, as well.
Oh yeah, and then of course the hands are very expressive. Like most expressions are paired with hands, and that's also a whole other category there, where the hands can be feminine or masculine, or and oftentimes, like when people are laughing or when they're really upset, the hands go up to the face, almost like as if you're trying to convey to another person to kind of amplify the mood that you're in. So.
All right, so let's jump on to the next one, and we've got.
Okay, this guy's really sad.
Sad young
Hugh Jackman. Having a bad day.
Yeah. So you can see what's going on with the arrows there. Like the corners of the mouth go down, obviously. And then the brow this guy has very expressive eyebrows. I mean, you can really tell from far away that he's not very happy. And one thing that people don't know is, like, we obviously know that the corners of the mouth go down, but what we don't really know too often is that the chin, there's a muscle in the chin called the mentalis muscle. What's cool about that is, like, most muscles are lashing like bone and bone to bone to move some sort of lever, but it's one of the possibly the only muscles that are attached to your skin. So it does the weird thing of just moving the skin here. It helps make that face, when the lips are pulled down, it pushes the middle up, so you can really, like sometimes you look at a dog, you really don't know what they're thinking because they only have that open close or sneer. But then we're very expressive with our faces, so we have more stuff going on there. So
looks like we got a question here, Mike. What we want to?
Yeah. Is it more difficult to get masked characters to emote, or is it strangely easier based on the restrictions?
It's actually very hard. Like, I drew Iron Man for 3 years, and he's always covered up with that mask. And there have been artists that kind of cheated a little bit and kind of broadcast the smile through the mask, and that didn't seem like it was a good idea. It didn't ring true to me. And I know Bob Layton had this way of, you can make the mouth curve downward by tilting his head up. And then if you tilt it down, a smile forms. So just by tilting it, you can change the shape of the metal mouth. But what I do is I lean very heavily on body language. So, there's some things that you just can't work around. So.
Good to know. Good stuff.
Good stuff. I'm glad that during a live show, my family had to ask me questions.
They're asking about cutting the beard
Now
off.
I'm like this. All right. All right, Sean, what's going on here with this? It looks, how would you describe this? Concerned? Worried?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same as the other guy. It's a female version, and I guess it's either sadness or concern. Yeah.
And what's different about drawing men versus women, old versus young? I remember you saying the number of lines you put in will denote age and gender sometimes.
Yeah, so it's actually a lot harder with females. I've been drawing comics for like 30 years, and I think for like maybe the last 10, I was okay at drawing expressions. Before that, I really tried every single way possible to get a neutral expression because, in comics we draw like really handsome men and beautiful women, and I can maintain that if it was kind of like facing forward and very neutral. But as soon as they had to start emoting, it was very difficult to get that to actually.
Why is it difficult? Why would it be difficult?
Well, I guess mostly because you learn by drawing a neutral expression, and then I guess if you learn that, and then you don't know enough about how the face works, you can actually just make the person look very different or make them look ugly, either or both. And so I had a big problem early on where the big complaint about my work is that the facial expressions were always kind of, the standard sneer or, the surprise expression or the blank neutral expression. So that's really, really not good. And you really have to try to make these emotions, even at the expense of having the characters look a little weird. It's better to have the expression there and do it poorly than not do it at all. That's what I found out.
What is it about this concerned look, Sean, that has the face going in different directions? Like it, the other times you had them both going in the same direction. Why is it going in different directions?
Well, basically, she's the big thing is she's furrowing her brow. I guess that's what's called her forehead. Those wrinkles there. That's caused by the eyebrows going up, and it's just what naturally happens when we have that feeling. And you can kind of see like I guess it's called the epicanthic curve, or like above the eye there's like a line.
Mike, is it the epicanthic curve?
Yeah, I got one of those.
Well, a lot of Asians don't have that. But what it does, it tells you where the top of the eyeball is, so that when the eyelid is lower, that space gets larger, and then the eyeball gets covered up like halfway, and that tells you if someone's bored or if they're not paying attention or just sleepy. So that also is another way to change people's expression is just note the shapes that change and the percentages of things that this gets bigger and this gets smaller, and then how that affects the emotion.
God, this guy's smart.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. All right. So what are you seeing here? And also, I noticed you took the hands out that were there originally. Talk to us about what's going on with this expression.
Okay, so this is the surprise or shock expression, and I think we all kind of know how this works. But like the eyes get really big, and because we're human beings, we have the whites around our eyes, and I guess in the beginning, it's basically a way to get more information and more oxygen, because something has to happen very quickly. So the mouth goes open and you take in air, and the eyes open wide so to let in as much information as possible so you can react. After a while, it just became a symbol of shock or surprise. So if I'm talking to this guy and he made that face, he wouldn't have to speak the same language or take the time to explain to me what's going on. I know that there's something bad happening behind me, and I can react very quickly. So yeah, it's this guy's eyes are like saucers, and then the mouth opens up, and I guess, and then you get the washboard above the eyebrow. So that all those things kind of clue you in as to.
I remember reading somewhere or seeing somewhere that there are very few mammals that have whites as significant as ours, and the whites around our eyes communicate a lot of information about friendliness, friend or foe. And obviously you've picked up on this. Do you play with the whites of the eyes and think about those proportions?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be very careful about the proportions of like how much white is on either side of the eyeball, because as human beings, we're kind of very keyed into that. So when you're drawing someone's body, like when you get the back of the hand or the foot, you can be off by a lot. But then because it's an eye, we evolved over millennia to kind of really scrutinize what that means. So we can tell exactly, if we're face to face and you're looking at my nose or my chin or my shoulder, I can tell by the percentage of white on either side of the eyeball. Like I can tell that. So it's a way that we communicate, and we've gotten very good at it. And interestingly enough, like there's other things that animals don't have that we have because we're such social communicating beings. Like human beings are the only animal that has a chin, which is really weird. And we don't really know.
I have two.
So you're the Superman then.
Double mammal.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's there as like a scaffold, so that it can pull our mouths in different directions. So like I said before about the dog and the cat, a lot of animals, it's either open, close, or growl, and you really don't know a lot of times what a dog is feeling or thinking, because that mouth is just. Sometimes a dog tries to approximate a human smile, but it doesn't really look that convincing to me. So it's just because we have all these muscles and we can pull our mouths in all different shapes because the scaffolding down there or the chin just makes it possible for us to make all these different contortions. And then our brain is able to pick them up, even in the slightest little increments of movement, and kind of know what all that means. And as an artist, you have to kind of become a student of what all those movements and on the face mean.
Mike, it looks like Blank Stare has a question. What do we got?
Yes, he does. He wants to know if you have a reference library for expressions, or do you have enough reps to just do it intuitively?
Well, like I said before about drawing women, whenever they have to make an expression, the likeness and the attractiveness seems to fall apart, and that's kind of normal. For that reason, if you read a lot of my books, you might notice that a lot of the people are cast from actors in real life. All of my books, I would look for a person to kind of base that look off of. And one of the reasons is because if they're an actor, they're in a lot of movies, and you can kind of see what their face looks like when they're scared or angry or crying. And so in that sense, I use that as reference. So Google image searches can pretty much find anything.
Also, your friend created a photo reference book that,
Who's that be?
Help a brother out, huh? All right, we've got another gaping mouth, eyes expression. Also, a little bit of work there with the neck. Maybe talk to us about what we're seeing here with this expression.
Yeah, it's just basically the female version of the same thing. The eyebrows go up, which pull the eyelids up, and then all that skin is taken up by the furrow in the brow. And then, of course, the mouth opens up, and those are all. So this is a very extreme expression. So with all of these, you have to calibrate them so they don't, so it's the appropriate amount. And that's one of the hardest things that when I was drawing comics, I drew this expression a lot because, there's a lot of peril in comics. And someone actually, when I was in the Marvel offices, sent this kind of like letter that looked like a ransom note, where he basically took an issue of Iron Man and cut out every single expression, like the eyes. It was just a page full of eyes. And then it said, like, you got to get Sean Chen to stop drawing this so much. And
I hope they track.
Did you save that? I hope you saved that.
No, I didn't. But what causes that is because it didn't look like I was drawing it all the time. But if it takes me if I can do 3 pages a week, I only drew it a few times that week. But when you're reading a comic, you read sometimes you can blow through that entire few pages in a minute, and you see it one after the other. I don't really see the stuff one after the other, so I'm drawing this expression like I haven't drawn it in a couple of days.
Oh, here's something nice from Redheaded Ed. Buddy's reference books are helpful.
I agree. Yeah,
super helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Here we go. Let's keep moving on. Sean Chen, what do we got here now? We have different arrows. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, this is obviously Hugh Jackman, who's the king of the angry face. But yeah, it seems like everything kind of scrunches toward the bridge of the nose. So, and then those dramatic frown lines pop out. And so there's this thing between the eyes that they call those the 11 lines, because they look like the number 11 right above the nose. And you put that in there, and that kind of like makes people look older, but most people have that. So when someone gets angry, it becomes 1,111 lines because a lot more of them appear. So in this one, like the mouth opens up so that you can really show the teeth. And I think a lot of animals, they don't have the whitest teeth, but like human beings have like sometimes like very white teeth. So when you pull your lips wide and you can show like the weapons of your face, it's very threatening. So,
the weapons of your face.
yeah,
I like that. Face
Wow.
weapon.
Mike, write that down. We got to use that somewhere.
We should put a quote in. Weapons of his face.
Also, Sean, I notice he's leaning forward and his neck muscles are involved.
Yeah, it's important to kind of remember to get off of the face. Always get off the face. So yeah, like there's other things like the body language is in there. You can see how his head is shrinking below the shoulder line. So he's leaning forward like he's about to play football. So yeah, all that stuff comes into play. And yeah, I think one thing to kind of notice is like how much of that stuff is centers around the bridge of the nose. It seems like everything is kind of being sucked toward it. And then usually when you draw teeth, it's usually just like that white bar that goes across, but any type of sawtooth action there really goes a long way to making it look very feral. So it's one thing you have to watch out for is like when you're drawing a face that you don't want to be angry, you got to make, not put any bumps in those teeth because it ends up looking very, very dangerous.
Yeah. All right. Similar expression, except female, but I see something with the arrow pointing down this point. What's happening there?
Well, yeah, it's the same thing going on. It's just saying that the mouth is dropping open, and that the cheek area, the squat and stretch. This would be the stretch. You can kind of see there's no bicycle pump there. So when the jaw goes down, it's a hard object. It doesn't really change shape, but it changes position. So the cheek is the thing that changes shape depending on whether it's being squashed or stretched. So this is a very it's a tricky thing to draw. I mean, if this was a very young girl, it'd be very hard to draw this without making her look a lot older because she has those 11 lines there. But then you can see on the photo, this is the 1,111 lines, and then yeah, her mouth is. Yeah, this one looks crazy. I don't know if this is AI, but this is
Yeah, I was wondering if it was AI because it does have a weird diffusion to it. That's not.
Yeah.
So like if you compare it to the pores on Jackman and even the detail of the hair seems to have diffused out a little. It's hard to tell if that's a lens effect, but it does look a little AI, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it might be mixing this female's face with what would be on a guy's face, and then it's creating something that technically may not exist. But I think it was a great example of someone who's very angry.
Yeah, probably angry at Mike.
Yeah, usually is. So
Sean, you had some of these on a couple of them I just put left and right so that we would be more efficient with the slides, but I more or less kept them in order. Do you want to talk a little bit about what pick a side? Neither of them go follow you.
Well, it just goes to show like sometimes when you draw a character, you really can't just draw them just standing there, and because some of them just really scream like part of their look is just basically their attitude. So Rogue is one of those people that it's really hard just to make her stand straight up and down. So yeah, so she always is communicating a lot with her expression, like she's winking and smiling and then
flexing and flexing. Hand on the hip thing, right? Yeah.
And then the drawing to the right is anime can be very expressive, and I guess if you have a very cartoony style, I would say it gets a little easier because I draw very realistically, so I have to draw very realistic expressions, and that can be very difficult because it's a lot more subtle and doesn't communicate as well. So you're constantly calibrating how much the emotion comes across. And what's interesting is like whenever I draw an expression like on a female, I usually have to like come back to it later and I find out that it looks terrible, and then or it's too overblown, or it has to be backed up, and then I revise it, and then usually revise it the next day. So when there's an expression, I come back to it sometimes 3 or 4 times, and then a year or 2 later, it looks different to me. So
Wow.
It's hard. So the anime one there, you can see how they cheat. Like, those really aren't eyes. And then the fact that her mouth opens beyond her face, I think I'm calling BS on that. But it's a lot of fun, and that style is a lot of fun, and people like anime because it's so expressive.
Well, and it's design oriented. I think they are taking liberties with design. It's not intended to be
Right.
Real.
Anatomically accurate, right?
Emojis. Yeah, they're like emojis and living emojis.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go. 2 DC characters.
Okay, so the one on the right there, Wonder Woman. This is kind of the danger. I had to draw this likeness of Linda Carter. So when I looked it up, when she's running or doing anything, she has that look on her face. It's not great for comics because it doesn't really have that sense of urgency that goes with running and deflecting bullets. So the challenge there, if I were a better artist, I'd be able to get her likeness, but also have a face that matches what she was doing. So I wouldn't say that's when likenesses are important. I tend to kind of go neutral because that's what I can find in the reference. And if I stray from it, I will lose a likeness and I start gaining the emotion, and I got to make a very difficult decision there.
Yeah, she always did kind of, even in the TV show, run with a kind of stoic expression, right?
Yeah, so I thought it's appropriate because it looked just like it does in the TV show. But in comics, you kind of have to transcend the medium that we're in. So we're drawing comics that are small, and then it's drawn people, not real people. There's no sound or movement, so you got to treat it like if you see like a Broadway show, you're sitting way back there. Sometimes they put on like way too much makeup and they over exaggerate all the emotions, so that it just reads normally from someone sitting 100 feet back. And that's kind of what we have to do in comics, is we have to go beyond because of all the limitations of our medium.
Well, and I also noticed that, the Harley Quinn there on the left, it's not just the expression, it's also the head tilt. And when people are running, they don't typically tilt their head. They might lean it forward, but because this is an action pose, her head is level, whereas this is a standing attitude pose, like the Rogue, right? Where, her head tilted because she's not in motion, but in this one, why don't you explain it? Because
I think what I was doing here is I would picture in my head a person with that kind of attitude, and then kind of draw it like I see it in my head. And the danger there is while you're drawing it, you tend to start to average out everything, and it tends to kind of die on the vine. So with this, I kind of always did a little gut check and keep going back to that original image in my head and try to capture it all. So the head tilt, and then the eye wink, and then the tongue sticking out. It's all very playful. Her, what that pinky means? She's classy.
I didn't even pick that up until you pointed it out. Now I know she's a classy killer. I have a question for you, Sean. I've noticed often when I'm reading comics, if somebody sticks a tongue out or does something with the tongue, it often looks really strange. Or is doing a tongue like that difficult to do?
Yeah. I'm
not sure if I use.
Yeah, it's really hard because it's just so out of the ordinary. So it's as far as from a blank expression as you can get. So I probably, embarrassing enough, probably use the mirror, or then I will do some Google searches for something that's similar just to see how that works.
And are you using a mirror a lot? Are you calling your family in? Are you Googling things?
How does my tongue look?
I don't use a mirror too much. I probably go to the Google image searches because they've gotten so good with having everything.
Yeah.
And then really just from the experience of drawing, these are kind of like archetypical poses. They're kind of standard poses you have in your head, and you just know how to handle it the next time you draw it.
How about that, Mike?
I wish I knew how to handle it.
You do know how to handle it. Again, another tongue here. This is a really clear likeness. And this looks like about the size of a Post-it.
Yeah, it's on a Post-it note. So this is a lot of times when I'm just practicing. When I had that complaint that I would just draw, I wasn't really good at drawing facial expression. I really made an effort to draw only facial expressions for a long time to like can kind of get to know how these things work. So every time I see a funny face or someone contouring their face, I would draw it on whatever is around, like a sketchbook or a Post-it note.
Have any celebrities that you've drawn, have they ever commented or seen your likenesses of them?
No, I mean, we're comic book artists. So yeah, I don't think they've ever seen it. So.
Well, tonight they will. Billy is a big fan of the show.
Yeah.
Big fan of the show. What's going on here, Sean? A lot of different characters.
Okay. So this is funny because after I got that note that you don't draw expressions enough, I kind of went over off the deep end and then tried to put it on
deep end.
Try to put it on every single face to the point where it's starting to get ridiculous. So I drew this a long time ago, and it really hurts to see it now because I think it's just some of those emotions are just too much, and people just don't know what they're doing. It's like they're all farting at the same time or something.
That's what you get out of this? That's the last thing I got out of this.
Yeah, I would have never thought that this wasn't good enough.
Or that they were all farting at the same time. I mean, what makes you cringe at your old work right at this moment? What's cringy to you?
Well, it's hard. It's you can draw a neutral expression very well from different angles, but then the moment you try to stray from that and try to put some sort of emotion in it, you're taking a big risk. And so you go and do it. And like I said before, I don't really know whether it's successful until sometime years later.
I feel like you captured personalities for each one. Mike, what would you name the personalities of each character? Let's go here. Mike, what's the personality of this first character here?
Playful.
Playful. Okay, what's the personality of this character?
Gas.
She's funny. No, she's intense. She's happy, but she's intense. She's like waiting for this fight.
Smirky. Yeah, she's smirky with this fight.
This one's angry.
What about the one in the center here?
Angry.
Angry, determined.
Yeah.
Right? What about this one?
That one's kind of cocky. Like, she knows what she's doing.
Sean, how well did we interpret what your intent was?
I guess, I mean, I don't know exactly what
he was like gassy. They were all gassy. Yeah. That was.
I was just, trying to avoid the neutral face as much as possible without making them look weird or ugly. So I don't know.
What's the comment there, Mike?
Those are the expressions all my girlfriends and me make when we fart at the same time.
Oh.
Well, there you go. It's been confirmed.
Love to go to that party.
Sword like that one.
Sword like that one a lot. What's going on here, Sean?
It's, I like these characters because they're very much like night and day. So I think the old me would have drawn them just very much standard, like what they look like. But then you really can't do that anymore with comics. I mean, you really have to try to get the personality in there. So these people have very different personalities.
What are these eyes saying versus what are these eyes saying?
When she tilts her head and kind of looks downward at you, it's almost like she feels like superior to you and is judging you. Mm-hmm. And how like she's not facing you head on. She's actually facing away from you, but the only thing she's giving you in terms of acknowledgement is turning her eyes towards you. So her body language and everything is just saying that she's kind of very suspicious and doesn't really care too much about you. Meanwhile, Yukio there is kind of like front and center, facing forward and her smile kind of lights up her face, and she's giving the peace sign, and then Negasonic is giving the finger. So it's
Their hands are as expressive as their personalities. Yeah.
And Blank Stare wants to know if there's an artist who renders expressions that you admire.
I like Olivier Coipel, and they're real masters of expression. But if they get to have like a very cartoony style, I tend not to follow that because I like the realistic stuff. So I like Pepe Larraz and Olivier Coipel. And what's his name? I think he goes by the name Space Junkies on Instagram. I think something Robinson, James Robinson, I think, or very good with that stuff.
And I think Kevin McGuire was like sort of the gold standard for expressions for an entire generation of artists, right?
Yeah, I mean, he wrote the book. I mean, he always did that section in The Wizard, How to Draw.
All right, we have a... Did you draw this, Sean?
I drew that, yes.
This doesn't look like your style.
I drew that a while back. I think maybe because he's very young, it's very fluid and bouncy, and then it's a little bit cartoony.
The perspective and the foreshortening and the exaggeration on this could have gone so wrong in so many ways, but it just works. I mean, I see the expression, but like there's so much that could have gone wrong with this image, Sean. But like, how many times did you come back to this one?
I think I understand his face a lot more because it's a guy. I think I primarily have problems with female faces. Something about like the mouth is very important, and if the mouth, if it's just the hole that contorts in shape, that's easy enough. But then with women, especially when you're drawing like the typical attractive women, their lips are very thick, and then try to put that around that opening is usually a disaster. So
yeah, well, you don't. And it looks like in a lot of male characters, you're not even accentuating the lips very much, as much as you have a mouth opening, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can get away with a lot with a guy. It's a very feminine to put lips on the outlines around the figures. So
yeah, there are some artists who are best known for being great at females, and there's others that are great at drawing males. I guess you're just better. You find drawing males easier.
Yeah, it's for sure. It's easier. Males, and then the standard neutral woman's face. But then if you got a woman and like a protagonist is always on the run and is feeling a lot of feeling a lot of emotions, that's tough, because then you got to check each face days later to see whether it's still tracking okay with you.
All right, well, that's why I don't draw. Okay, here you go.
All right, so yeah, I mean, this is Mary Jane. So you look at her face, and then you should be able to know what she's saying. Like, would you know?
I didn't even get the joke until I looked at this a long time. It's a tiger hitting the jackpot.
You hit the jackpot, tiger.
It just like I put it in there, and I was like, okay, we're just gonna, because I put blank stare. What does blank stare say?
Blair thinks that drawing women is considered difficult by all artists.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I think it's universally true. So, I mean, it's not that I have a particularly a big problem with it. It's just that we all do, and you're lucky if you can master it.
You know, Mike, Sean, I didn't really realize this until we traveled together to Morocco. Sean's humor flies so far under the radar that if you're not paying attention, you think he's just saying something, because he's so dry about it. And like, he delivers this image, doesn't say a word about it, but there's a joke built into this. And if you can get the joke or you don't get the joke,
you gotta know.
Yes.
Oh, and Redheaded Ed wants to know how you deal with full beards over thin lips.
Oh, geez, I mean,
ask Buddy.
Well, I figure full beards makes it easier, because it's, I mean, the lips for a guy with a full beard, it actually becomes like almost like a symbol, like an emoji, because it's so much of it's covered up. It's just like an opening that changes shape.
Well, Redheaded Ed, if you stick around long enough, my daughter's at the ready with the buzzer. We're going to be shaving off this beard tonight.
We've got a Scorpio in the signs who finds drawing women much easier.
Oh, that's good for you. I mean, you have a lot less work ahead of you then.
Here's blank stare, crouching tiger, hidden jackpot.
Ah, right on, blank stare.
Well done.
Sean, I zoomed in on this one. You gave me the Adventure Time, but I thought let's zoom in on the actual expressions. You want to talk about these? But it strikes me as an incredibly difficult angle to draw.
Yeah, it's supposed to look like Winsor McKay.
Look at that! It took me a minute.
I don't know who that is.
Nemo in Slumberland.
Yeah, Little Nemo. So I only include this because I almost always draw realistically. When I got this cover assignment, I'm like, you sure you got the right guy? So this is me just portraying different emotions in a cartoony way. And I found it to be a lot easier. Winsor McKay draws a lot of cartoony people, but then when it comes to animals, they're hyper realistic. So that was it Lady Rainicorn is like an actual horse. So.
That's interesting. So by the way, Sean, most, if not all of these images are typically discoverable on your Instagram account, which I put at the end of this slideshow. People that don't follow Sean should definitely follow Sean on the Instas. Now, this was a book that needed greater attention. Sean, tell us what the book is. It's a shame that more people don't know about this book.
Okay, so this is called Wingman, and I think maybe like 5 years ago or during the pandemic, I was just drawing comics because I was working in advertising, and I always wanted to keep drawing comics. So I just started making up this story, kind of doing like a few pages at a time, like maybe like 6 pages a month or something, and putting it up on Instagram. So that's why it's a square and the letters are very big. So, and this is me just trying just to get better at drawing and working hard on trying to convey personality. So to try to get away from those neutral faces. So you can see like the Max von Sydow character there who plays the knight. He's more expressive, and then the Death is played by that actor, and he has like a very he's just a very kind of like a buddy type thing where they're very opposite in personality. So I showed this page because there's a couple of girls there that are like laughing, and their body language, their facial expression, and the fact that the hands are involved try to convey that they're laughing at them. And so it's just like this page just has a bunch of expressions going on, and I was kind of proud of it because this is a very realistic drawing, but also has to communicate at phone size what everyone's thinking and feeling, and then the dialogue on top of it kind of reinforces things. But it all starts with the drawing.
I once again, looking at this, Sean, this sequence here is like a masterclass in comic storytelling, from the extreme foreground to the two midgrounds to the deep background to the camera switch to the camera switch to the camera switch. This is like a masterclass in a square. I mean, it's incredible. And I mean, I didn't really study it until you were talking, but this is an amazing composition. Did you notice all those things, Mike, as we were?
I did not. It was, it's just awesome to look at. It's not like I'm like, oh, look at the foreground and the background. It's like it all just blends into like a good frame.
But what does make the realism pop, and he doesn't have background here, like he didn't have to draw background. You knew the background was already there because he established it. So he did the hard work up here and then repeated it here. But I mean, Sean, this is just an incredible, what is this? What did she say?
But he has Make Sean Blush on his bingo card tonight.
That's right. That's right.
We don't know if, was this Death from Bill and Ted or that Expression City film from Norway?
Yeah, this is from the original, the Seventh Seal movie. So those are the actors from the Seventh Seal. And I'm kind of drawing them without permission. I just kind of never was going to publish this. So I kind of made this story and made it up as I went along. And then when I was done, someone called me up and they wanted to actually publish it. So this is a book you can actually buy.
Yeah, you can get it on 24/7 Comics, right?
Yeah. So this is a page from my current book, Evermind. So I just try to look through to see if I find any extreme expressions, even though this girl's a robot. But yeah, this try to find the most extreme expressions, and which is a scary thing to do because I don't like to go hunting for any of the extreme female expressions because, like I said, years later, you can say, "Wow, that's a huge mouth," or that got she was a 10 when she was just standing there, but then she opened her mouth and then she went down to a 5. So that stuff happens a lot.
This just blows me away. This right here, it's like you can't get your eyes off of that. That's just amazing.
It's a lot of cheating because, like, I mean, she's a robot, but then I can, as an artist, I can make her emote like a human being and just say, like, that's just technology. You know, it's cheating in a lot, but that's what we do in comics.
That is what we do. Well, it's what you do in comics. What I do in comics is read them.
Because this is, you know, when you draw comics, this is the expression you learn to draw first. It's just like the gritted teeth and then the angry face, like the ready to rumble look. And, you know, I've drawn comics before where I get the feedback that you have to keep on changing the expression, because imagine that you get like a couple pages in a row where the face is like this the whole way through. And sometimes when someone's fighting and they're like screaming like they're charging into battle with their mouth open, I got to remember to shut that mouth once in a while, because like you draw like a few pages like that, and then I've got the feedback that the readers actually their jaws, the muscles in their jaw started to ache by reading it, because they just felt like the mouth was open too long in the comics. You know,
I just want to show you Mike with his facial hair, Sean. That's Mike with his facial hair carved oh so beautifully. So if you need somebody to grow facial hair by tomorrow, Mike can give you almost anything you need.
Well, that's
if you ever need a
different look.
If you ever need a you know, someone to draw, Sean, I'm here for you.
Yeah, your face has really good structure to it.
You do have good structure on your face, Mike.
Oh, thank you.
Isn't that what we always say? All right, Ripley.
Yeah, we've seen this before. I mean, it's this is one of the things I drew because it has that that expression that I wanted to capture. This is during that phase when I was trying to draw women with expressions all the time, just to get used to it. But you can kind of see like her eyes are open big, and then you see a lot of whites around it, and it kind of conveys, like if she was standing in front of you and she made that face, you'd want to know, like, well, what's behind me? Like something is sneaking up behind me, and then you're gonna spin around and then. So
I noticed also in the shoulders, though, she looks like she's frozen and about to make deciding what move she's going to make as well. It looks like she's right at the moment where she's going to make a decision: do I fight or flight?
Right.
Looks like you've put a bit of body language in there as well in the expression.
Yeah, it's very important. I think when people think about expression, they kind of confine themselves to the face, but really it starts, you know, even at the feet. Like if their toes are pointing directly towards you or they're away from you, it really says a lot about how their relationship at that moment with you. So start from the feet and work your way up, and then cap it off with whatever is going on with the face.
Looks like a question here. What's the question here?
Yeah, to use mouth shapes from dialogue to help to change the character's expressions.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think Bernard Chang once told me that the conventional wisdom is like the last word that's being said in that word bubble, that's the shape of the mouth. So that makes sense to me. So yeah, I think it's a good way to get a different face. Otherwise, you end up with generic. The mouth is half open whenever they're speaking, and it's a kind of generic saying anything. But all the letters contort our mouth in all different shapes.
Now, Andy Siebert, I should know. Redheaded Ed is an animator, but artist. Andy Siebert is actually an artist I've worked with. Mike, why don't you give a readout to good old Andy Siebert?
Let's see. So when do you say to yourself that you've got enough line work in a face to get the emotion without adding age or making them ugly, particularly because of your more realistic style?
Yeah, that's always a challenge, and then you really have to, like I said, go and look at it again later to see what everything's conveying properly. So, you know, when you see emojis or emoticons, they don't really have any other lines other than the eyes, nose, and mouth. So there's a lot you can do without adding more wrinkles. So it's great when you have someone like Clint Eastwood and he's angry. There's tons of lines you can add there. The more, the better. So like I said, with women, it's a lot harder because you have to be very judicious about where you put the lines. But just know that you can do it with just the eyes, nose, and mouth.
Yeah, you can ugly people up, though, as well.
Yeah.
You can accidentally, okay, here you go. We have some expressions here and even expressiveness with the, I guess, the Black Knight or something.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? I don't even know what this is.
I do a lot of covers for Zenescope Comics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they always tell me like what I should draw for a cover, and they kind of describe it, and then so this is one of those ones where just kind of surprised and shocked by what's like this looks like a magic book. So it's causing her arms to open, flare out, and then her hair blows back and her eyes open up, her mouth drops open. So all of those
Is that
things,
the extent of the description that they give you? Or are they getting that detailed with you about what they want to see?
usually, I mean, you can get all different directions. Sometimes with like Marvel, they just say like, make us an iconic cover of Daredevil. So you can draw anything you
good.
want.
No pressure.
Yeah, iconic means that it's within character, and then it could sub for any book because so that's a lot of people like that because it gives them a lot of freedom. With Zenescope, I kind of like the idea that they really kind of drill down on exactly what they want to see, and it's good for me because I think I'm good at drawing whatever's thrown out at me, and I can make the best out of any scenario. So it's a nice challenge that way. And if they don't constrain it at all, then it's so wide open that you can kind of just run in circles forever trying to nail down a concept.
Wow. All right, we're getting toward the end here. This is, I think, our last example. This one made me hungry. What's going on here, Mike?
Well, this is what we're going to talk about next time. This is how people always like how I draw backgrounds and buildings. So the secret to drawing great buildings is just to know your different types of cookies.
So Sean,
cookies.
Sean, it sounds like you're going to be coming back for a follow-up with cookies. Is that what we're to understand?
Buildings.
Buildings.
Right.
Okay. So Sean, if we always tell our audience the way to say thank you is click like, leave a comment, but also buy your books. They can find Evermind as a bundle at 24/7 Comics. I've read it. I own them. And they are terrific. He did a great job with those. Let's pull up the applause here, Mike. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and big props to Sean. After nearly 30 years in the business, it was really brave of him to write a full series after having worked with some of the greatest writers in the industry. But he held his own, did a good story, Sean. And Mike, you haven't read this yet, right?
I haven't read it yet, but I will.
But you will. All right. And then you should follow Sean Chen with now 88,900. That's crazy.
It's actually going down because I think a lot of people are leaving for Blue Sky or something. So,
but I mean, really, if you're into Sean, this is the place to go. By the way, the little Superman thing, Mike, here, Sean, can you explain what these are? I think these are pretty funny.
Yeah, so I usually draw everything's in 2 dimensions, but I'm a very mechanically minded person, so I'm kind of an amateur inventor. So I kind of combine my drawing skills with little fun things. Usually they're children's projects that I take way too seriously as a professional artist. So I make these little running figurines that if you turn the crank, their legs move. So,
No, let me hold on. Let me stop screen. Let me present because I think this is actually really interesting. Chrome tab, Instagram.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Gotta use the button thing.
So Sean does these cutouts, right, Sean? But do you have one where you actually show the motion?
Right
yeah,
there,
Batman. Yeah.
So Sean sells these kits. There's Tippy Hedren. And Sean, you sell these things, don't you?
Yeah, I bring some to conventions, and if anyone contacts me, that
you keep this up. One day you'll be 100-aire.
That's a good one.
This is just so funny, Sean.
Yeah, I think this is one thing we can talk about at some point in the future, like trying to bring attention to yourself other than just the drawing thing. So these are just things to bring attention to your work, to try to stand out on Instagram because it's a very crowded and intimidating space.
Well, I am Mike. Had you ever seen these?
I think I saw them once before, but they're still entertaining.
Yeah, they are still entertaining. Okay, almost done here. Oh, that's not it. All right, so you're going to have to like, comment, and subscribe for the show. But as promised, Nicole, if you want to come on over here, we are going to rid ourselves of this, whatever it is that I have. Wow. This is my daughter, Nicole. Nicole, everybody, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole. Don't do it.
All right, here we go, Nicole.
Nicole, only shave half of it.
Do the mutton chops first.
I don't know. I've never been shaved on camera before, but maybe you should do this side because they can see this side. Oh wait, hold on. Let's put the. So we're making a little bit less of a mess. We are really doing this, folks. Ready? Is it coming off?
Yeah. I just don't want to. I'll leave a little bit because I want you to be able to. I don't want to cut too much in the end.
Oh, goatee.
How's she doing?
Pretty good. You should leave the handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
Is that what she should do? Leave a handlebar mustache?
Yeah, just leave it. Just leave it down.
How's she doing?
Doing good. It's coming off.
Months to grow and only minutes to come off.
You should shave the eyebrows while you're there, too.
Don't touch the eyebrows. I still have to pay for her college tuition.
Or just give him a stripe down the middle of his head.
All right, now let's switch sides. You stand over here, and I'll turn over here. Starting to look like myself again, huh, Nicole?
Yeah.
Any comments in the peanut section, Mike?
We got Abel saying give him a heart shaved into the side of his head.
You know Abel?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Somebody, Robin Juniper says, Nikki, you should give him an eyebrow slit.
No.
And then we got our good friend Glenn, just one eyebrow. It would look so weird. I mean, so good. So good.
Months to grow and only minutes to remove.
Yep. This is peak entertainment, Robin. Exactly.
You know, back when Nicole was little, she used to style my hair too.
Does this bring you back to those days, Nicole?
She would get an entire bottle of Dep. It would be about this big, and she'd spend the day styling my hair into a giant fin, at which point it was so solid that I could break through a wall with it.
Wow. You're a great dad. I wouldn't put up with that.
Oh, I loved it. I would go get some more Dep, Janet. Am I starting to look like myself again?
Yeah.
And now he's back to just being Buddy.
Oh, there's the Buddy I know.
All right.
Glenn says he thinks you should sneeze right now, which I'm not sure what that means.
How about a round of applause for my daughter? Take a bow. All right. Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you always for being such a great guest. We love having you. We're glad to know that you'll be coming back with cookies.
Yes, buildings
and cookies. Yes. And everybody should like, comment, and subscribe. Mike, we're going to throw Sean into the green room. What is it that you have in the green room waiting for Sean?
Today we have California roll and strawberry daiquiris.
I already ate, so.
Well, maybe just pick.
I'll pick at it, yes.
All right. Well, listen, Sean, thank you so much. We will see you soon. Everybody should subscribe to Sean. Go buy Evermind. And guys, we will see you next week. We're going to continue a wonderful 2025. Thank you, Sean, so much for being our first guest of the year. We wouldn't have it any other way. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks a lot, guys.